Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story: an inquest hears a mother and her baby died following a home birth after she'd been advised by midwives to have a hospital delivery. But Jennifer Cahill's husband has claimed that midwives weren't clear about the level of risk she faced. Also tonight, national park or theme park? Campaigners' anger after judges give the go-ahead for a Zipwire attraction in the heart of the lakes. An environmental necessity or a war on cars? Liverpool City Council reveals plans to cut city centre traffic by closing car parks. Those kids weren't as fast as lightning. The 1970s teenagers who remade a kung fu classic but took nearly 50 years to finish it.
You could get your leg up in the air, you could actually do that, but obviously coming back 47 years later, I found it very difficult. I found it very difficult to get my leg anywhere near what I used to get to.
An inquest has been hearing how a mother and her baby died after a home birth, but had been advised by midwives to have a hospital delivery. Jennifer Cahill from Prestwich in Greater Manchester had wanted a completely natural birth after a difficult labour with her first child in hospital. But her husband claimed medical staff hadn't been clear about the level of risk his wife was facing in opting for a home birth. Well, let's join Mairead Smith, who's been at the proceedings today at Rochdale Coroner's Court. So, Mairead, what more can you tell us about the background to this case?
Well, Annabelle, this has been the third day of this inquest at Rochdale Coroner's Court. The hearing heard that 34-year-old Jennifer Cahill had wanted that completely natural birth at home. She had suffered a major hemorrhage, though, after the birth of her first child, and was advised that a hospital birth would be safer. But her husband, Rob, told the inquest that his wife had wanted this home birth because she had felt completely unsupported during the birth of their first child in 2021, and he told the inquest that he felt they hadn't been told about the level of risk if they were to follow that home birth with their second child. So today we heard from Andrea Walmsley. She was the lead midwife on the night that Jennifer Cahill gave birth at home. She had never met the couple before and hadn't seen the birth plan. The first time she saw it was on the night of the birth, and she described it as intense. And she said that Jennifer Cahill was clearly high risk. The hearing was told that the mother didn't want any intervention, that she'd refused a drug that would have helped with the birth and prevented excessive bleeding.
And Mairead, Andrea Walmsley was also questioned about incomplete records from that night.
Yes, this was specifically about blood pressure records. Of course, that is something that is taken regularly during a birth. They had records up until 3:45 in the morning, and that's when they stopped. And the midwife told the inquest today that further records were written on an incontinence pad that was later thrown out. Now, she told the inquest, "I know we did the observations, but they were not documented, and I accept there is no proof." The midwife described the situation as absolute chaos when baby Agnes Lily was born unresponsive, with her umbilical cord around her neck and covered in meconium. The inquest heard resuscitation equipment that had been set up by the midwives hadn't been checked, and actually an air mask they tried to use on the baby was broken. Agnes Lily was transferred by ambulance to North Manchester General Hospital, where she sadly died a few days later. Her mother, Jennifer, was taken shortly after, and she died at the same hospital just after she was admitted, and sadly she had never held her baby daughter. The inquest will continue here tomorrow morning.
Mairead, thanks very much. Next tonight, the High Court today refused a legal bid to block plans for a major Zipwire attraction in the heart of the Lake District. Campaigners had claimed that the development in a disused quarry at Eltwater risked turning the area into a theme park. They said they were fighting for the soul of the Lake District. But the National Park Authority, who backed the development, denied it would damage the character of the area. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
The tranquility and beauty of the Langdale Valley can't be underestimated. But a row has been rumbling over plans to build a zipwire here inside a slate mine.
And this is where the attraction is going to be. This building here will be a reception area, and then people will walk over here to the entrance to the quarry, and the zipwire, of course, will be underground.
These are the caverns underneath, where the owners want to install something like this. The Lake District National Park Authority granted permission for the zipwire last year, but it was strongly opposed by the landscape charity Friends of the Lake District. It claimed the authority had misunderstood its responsibilities, but today the High Court ruled in favour of the authority, saying it had made no errors.
We are disappointed, but it does really sharpen our resolve to continue to campaign for the type of landscape and the type of national park that we want. We want people to obviously benefit from accessing the landscape. We want people to enjoy the special qualities of the national park, and that's really what it's all about, rather than people coming to enjoy unrelated activities that don't give them that connection to the landscape.
The charity is also concerned that the attraction would bring too much traffic to the local area, but the Lake District National Park Authority says the operator has put adequate plans in place.
We took into account the impact on the landscape, the impact on our communities, impact on transport, and the benefits that would potentially accrue from this as well. And we came to the conclusion that actually we would approve this application. What's great for me is that the judgment gives a vote of confidence in the planning processes that we undertook.
But for the charity, this is about what tourism in the Lake District should look like, and at a time when the number of daily visitors is decreasing.
You don't want to kind of make it tacky almost, like it's not a fairground.
No, I think it's fun, and it's something for kids to do as well. If kids maybe don't want to do the hike, I suppose it's like an incentive to come and do the outdoor things.
I suppose it's how much parking it causes and everything as well, because it's very bad to park here.
I personally think there are plenty of people attracted to the Lake District without one.
I'd probably have a go anyway, I'd use it. I may be 70, but it doesn't bother me.
For me, what's particularly pleasing is that people will be able to have a true experience of an element of the Lake District which they possibly didn't think they were going to have, and that is about the cultural heritage of the mining and quarrying activity here.
Friends of the Lake District say they'll consider now whether to appeal the ruling.
Ultimately, it's what happens next in terms of the landscape, and as I say, we will continue to campaign for a landscape, a Lake District that's tranquil.
Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Elterwater.
Greater Manchester Police say a newborn baby whose remains were found on wasteland in Salford last year was probably buried in an attempt to cover up her birth. The little girl, named Ava by detectives, was discovered at Little Hulton. The case featured on today's Crime Watch programme and included a detail of underwear found nearby.
So today I'm appealing to Ava's mum and dad. We urge you to contact us or reach out to a trusted person who can contact us on your behalf. If you think you may know who Ava's parents are, or if you recognise the underwear and you think you may be able to help us with where these may be purchased, then please let us know.
A Greater Manchester police officer who saved a colleague from a knife attack has been awarded the King's Commendation for bravery. Sergeant Tim Ansell was stabbed multiple times in the neck and body 2 years ago after they were attacked from behind. Despite his injuries, Sergeant Ansell continued to resist until other officers were able to restrain the attacker. The Liverpool actor Stephen Graham is asking dads across the world to share their experiences of raising boys for a new book called Letters to Our Sons. Stephen, who created and starred in the Netflix series Adolescence, is including a letter to his own son and says he hopes it will act as a tool to start more conversations between dads and their sons. The hit TV series explored toxic masculinity and the impact of mobile phones and social media on teenagers and family life. A dangerous bull which escaped an abattoir on the Isle of Man has been shot dead by police. The animal was said to have become extremely aggressive and police were called to help at the facility, but the bull escaped. It was found this morning at Douglas Rugby Club after passing residential areas and a primary school. A review has started into how the animal managed to escape. Martin Hibbert, who was injured in the Manchester Arena attack, has been advising Coronation Street actors about their latest storyline. In the soap, the character Tyrone suffers a spinal cord injury after a hit and run. Martin, who uses a wheelchair after the arena blast left him paralysed from the waist down, has been sharing his experiences with the cast. He says he and his wife Gabby's experiences have helped the cast understand the impact of a life-changing event.
It's not just me, it's my wife and my friends and my family. You know, I've said it many a time on the sofa, you know, this ripple effect that it has. And Coronation Street want to show that, want to get it accurate, which is great.
Now, big changes to parking in Liverpool could be on the way. The council's agreed a strategy which aims to discourage people from driving into the city centre through reducing the number of parking spaces, among other things. But the City Council's leader today denied he'd declared a war on cars. Here's our Merseyside political reporter, Claire Hamilton.
So this is how loads of us travel to work in Liverpool, go to the shops, jump in our car, drive into town, find somewhere to park. But the council don't want us to do that.
Instead, they want to cut the number of cars to reduce congestion, emissions and make travelling around Liverpool a more pleasant experience for pedestrians and cyclists.
This is all about how we get the right balance of how people travel around the city and particularly how people park cars right across the city. Yeah, obviously a lot of focus on the city centre, but also in lots of different communities.
Some of the things the council is looking at show the direction of travel. Fewer, smaller surface car parks on valuable land, new park and ride schemes, and even 24-hour traffic wardens. Here in Liverpool's Baltic, you can park for free on street for 2 hours. What do people here make of the plans?
I don't mind all the parking here. It makes the city feel a little alive, but I can see it's becoming overcrowded.
I think more park and ride and better park and ride would help.
If you've got children with you and things like that, it can be quite difficult. So if the kids are with us, then yeah, we'll come in the car and we'll park somewhere.
I just got a parking ticket this morning. Yeah. Brilliant.
On-street parking charges in the city centre increased this year and the hours drivers pay to park were extended. Opposition politicians here say it's all sending the wrong signal.
I think it's a war on cars and it's also a war on businesses. And, you know, we've seen that from the Labour government who've brought in the national insurance rise. You know, £500,000, that's cost some businesses such as Barbar in the city centre. And now they seem to want to punish people locally here as well. It's going to have a massive effect on the nighttime economy. And, you know, we've already seen hospitality businesses closing left, right and centre in the city centre. We need to support businesses, not punish them, and that's what they're doing with this.
The strategy's been given the green light and people in Liverpool will be asked for their views on different parts of the plan over the coming months. Claire Hamilton, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Right, let's take a look at some more stories that are being read in the North West tonight. And a woman who was left for dead in a hit and run in Greater Manchester is appealing for help to find the driver who hit her. Find out how the number of GPs on the Isle of Man has fallen to its lowest level in 20 years. That piece by Ashley Tracy. And campaigners are celebrating after an application for a second gravel quarry near a village in Lancashire has planning permission refused. Now you can read about those stories and many more at bbc.co.uk/local news or, of course, on the BBC News app. Now, things ain't what they used to be. Whether it's TV, comedy, football or pop music, it's a common complaint. But what about the Blackpool Illuminations? First staged in 1879, they're still massively popular and get hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. They look a little different now, though, than they did decades ago. And some regulars just aren't happy about the new, more subtle light show. Eunice Muller reports.
Blackpool Illuminations, one of the resort's most famous attractions. From Bispam to Squires Gate, about 6 miles of lights and art displays. But here's a question. Are they more art now than just lights? And is that what visitors really want?
They're super. I was here 50 years ago and I think maybe not quite as nice as they were then, but yeah, lovely.
There's a lot more what's
There's
no characters and things.
And stuff like that.
You'd like to see more of that, would you?
More characters, yeah.
Why do you like the traditional ones?
Just goes back to the ethos, see what Blackpool's all about, entertainment and the original lighting and all that.
The tableau at the North End has family favourites, but a short distance down, the display includes this wildlife-themed creation. Paul Galley is the leader of the Conservatives on Blackpool Council.
I've argued that they should make you feel like a 5-year-old, and part of the thing that's missing is the fun. There's no plan around what the public want, what the residents want, what the visitors want. So instead of the moving parts on the street sections that you used to see, so you see a bat, a ball and a bat, and it would just have all these sorts of movements, all of that's gone, and people are telling me it's boring.
Here's something I found in the archive. A move away from these type of lights hasn't gone unnoticed. Sue Nichols has been offering her horse-drawn carriage ride for 35 years.
They're just the same year after year, aren't they? I think.
Some people prefer the old ones. They say they're more...
Yeah, they do. They don't think that there's a lot of movement. So years ago, they used to have Mickey Mouse running across and things like that.
The new installations this year are these dragons which come alive with smoke and light, designed by the TV personality Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, who's the creative force behind the Illuminations.
Postman Pat may not be out this week, but he may go out next week.
The so-called artificial sunshine is created at the Illuminations depot. You might recognise some of the older displays.
It's all about trying to get a new display every year, and we'll bring some things in to renovate them. You know, some of them are quite old, they're like an old car and they need looking after, so we'll rest them, look after them, put them out the following year. People's expectations have moved on, and we've got to think about that and take that on board, that there's room for everything.
Lightpool begins today, a mix of installations, live performance and 3D projection shows.
It's really strange because people say, oh, it's not like it was when we were kids, but I think it's a different experience when you're children, isn't it? So I think this is a perfect thing to say to people, you know, if your tastes have changed and if you want to experience something different, then Lightpool Festival is a different take on Illuminations.
I just love it.
Blackpool Council believes it does have the right mix.
We will all be judged by the numbers of people who come to Blackpool, and what we see is millions upon millions of people still come and love and enjoy. And you know, Lawrence is a fantastic ambassador for the town. These are things of beauty. It's light art. It is light art. It's always been light art, but it is about getting that right balance between the more traditional and the new.
So have they got it right? The only way to find out, of course, is to see the Illuminations for yourself. Eunice Muller, BBC North West Tonight, Blackpool.
They still look great, don't they? Now, the Lancashire landscape is still dotted with mills and warehouses, a reminder of an industry that used to employ tens of thousands of people. The textile industry is a lot smaller now, but it is still alive and well, and it's being celebrated in the British Textile Biennial, a free festival of contemporary art and design at more than 20 sites across East Lancashire. And at Burnley's Townley Hall, they're marking the textile industry's links to a moment of mountaineering history. Stuart Pollitt reports.
Sir Edmund Hillary conquering Everest in 1953. Most of the famous expedition was clothed in Lancashire.
So this is Edmund Hillary wearing exactly the same garment on Everest, the blue flintware made from the Wincol fabric by John Southworth in Clitheroe. So this fabric was specifically made for the expedition, designed and tested to be suitable for Everest.
Henry's written about the history of outdoor clothing, much of it coming from the county.
The textile industry is hugely centred in the northwest because, again, we've got the terrain, the water to run the mills and so on and so forth.
Those incredible expeditions could not and would not have happened without them being able to be clothed in Grenfell cloth made in Burnley. And the designers there went on to create high-altitude suits. It's really quite incredible.
East Lancashire continued to have a role making outdoor clothing through the decades.
Companies sprang up around here in the 60s and 70s in the north of England and Manchester and Lancashire. Again, because of the textiles, but because they were trying to make clothing to take it into the outdoors, nobody envisaged it would be the huge kind of lifestyle that it is now. So there's far more opportunity for brands to expand and grow and develop. And that still plays a big part in the northwest.
It started 8 years ago as a festival for East Lancashire, but this year the biennial has expanded to 19 sites right across the whole of Lancashire, many of them in historic buildings like this one. Other events include a look at the history of polyester in Accrington, the town where it was invented in 1941, and a football shirt themed exhibition at Turton Tower near Bolton.
This is our 5th biennial, and with each biennial we uncover more and more history and stories that have just never been told before, and I think that it should be such a source of pride for the people here.
Visitors have until the start of November to take a look at the varied textile tapestry of this area.
And if you want to know where you can see that, go to the Textile Biennial website and you'll find all the locations on there. Next, some of Hollywood's most famous films have taken a long time to make, from conception to actually getting to the big screen, but few can match the 47 years it took to complete a home movie version of a kung fu film set in Liverpool. It was started by a group of teenagers who grew up on an inner city estate in the 1970s. But they only finished it this year. Our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill picked up some popcorn and fizzy pop and went to take a look at this piece of cinema history.
It's 1978, and in the shadow of a busy city centre flyover, a group of Liverpool lads recreate the film hits of the day, like the Bruce Lee film Big Boss.
Every week we'd go to cinema, and there'd be all kinds of inspiration. I was a big James Bond fan, I was a big Bruce Lee fan, and so when I decided to try and make my own films, and I was able to buy a cheap second-hand Super 8 cine camera, I tried to emulate those films and those stars of the day.
In the 1970s, Kung Fu was massive. Films, TV shows and pop songs all fueling the craze.
We all wanted to be Bruce Lee, we all wanted to be David Carradine. We all thought we could fight like David Carradine and like Bruce Lee.
Paul bought his cine camera for £9, using money saved for a school trip. He charged pals 10 pence to watch the director's cuts.
We never had not what we've got today, phones and all that, so it was like sort of you've done it and then a few weeks later you're seeing the finished product.
But in 1978, Paul Sudbury's dad, Frank, died, and Paul put away his camera with the final scene of his version of Big Boss still to film. Then this year, one of the cast, who'd emigrated to Australia, came back to visit Liverpool, and Paul leapt like a kung fu master at the chance to finish his masterpiece.
And 47 years later, these loads of pensioners tried to create this kung fu caper from the 1970s.
What was it like trying to do the moves and do it all again?
It was a bit more difficult than when we were 14. So a lot of the fight scenes, it's all about the edit. So rather than having this wide shot with multiple fights, it's basically one punch cut, one punch cut.
In those days, you know, you could get your leg up in the air, you could actually do that. But obviously coming back 47 years later, I found it very difficult. I found it very difficult to get my leg anywhere near what I used to get to when I was young.
Big Boss wasn't the only 70s blockbuster that Paul and his mates reproduced.
The gun battle sequence at the start of Bond, and where the blood comes down, it was a plastic tray from the inside of a packet of mince pies, and we just cut it into shape and then dropped it into shot.
The lads grew up on the now demolished Gerard Gardens estate.
A lot of the flats were overcrowded. You had like big families. Like myself, we lived in a 2-bedroom flat, and there was 3 children. So we were all cooped up in like sort of one room. Everyone was very close. Everyone enjoys each other's company.
The Scouse Big Boss is now available on YouTube.
It was great, It was like we were 14 again, to be honest.
Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
It looks brilliant, doesn't it? You know what I'm going to be watching tonight. Right, let's get a look at the weather now. Here's Chris Folks.
Hello, I'll delve into the forecast details in a moment, but first of all I thought I'd marvel at some of the clouds that have been spotted in Cumbria's Lake District over the last few days. Now, in many areas of high pressure we get something called a temperature inversion, which is a layer of warm air above the ground. Beneath that you can get cloud trapped. That's why it's been grey and gloomy for many of us. But the mountains in Cumbria have been high enough to stick out into the clear skies above that layer of warm air. We even had this rare cloud waterfall spotted, with the cloud cascading over the ridges in the mountains in Cumbria. Overnight tonight, it is going to be a pretty cloudy night for many of us. Dry for most, yes, but there could be an odd spit of drizzle in the air. I think temperatures for the most part overnight probably staying quite close to 10 degrees Celsius. It's going to be a relatively mild night, and tomorrow morning I'd expect it to be pretty cloudy and grey first thing, with a few mist and fog patches around. There is a chance that the cloud could thin and break a bit more, so we might see a few more sunny spells break out, but the best chance of sunshine I think nevertheless will still be up over the tops of the mountains in Cumbria. Temperatures not really changing too much at the moment, 13 to 15 Celsius. On its Friday's forecast, our area of high pressure is still firmly in charge, so the weather predominantly dry. Again, we'll start off though with some mist and fog patches. Cloud, again, may well thin and break at times to give some sunny spells, but the sunshine, I think, will be quite hit and miss. Temperatures not changing too much, again about 13 to 15 Celsius. Heading into Saturday, we start to change our wind direction, with the winds coming in more from a southeasterly direction, so there probably will be more sunshine breaking through on Saturday, but then Sunday, we see a real change in our weather patterns, with low pressure starting to swing a band of heavy rain our way. So, we're relatively dry and bright on Saturday, heavy rain for a time on Sunday, and next week, low pressure stays close to the UK. So rain or showers in the forecast on most of the days next week, a big change on the way.
Thanks, Chris. And that's it from everybody here for now. Kelly Foran will be back at 10:30 with your late update. Join her then if you can. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.